Let's reread the excerpt from The Outsiders. I will provide specific instructions on how to mark the text that will help with comprehension. I'm now going to hand you a highlighter. Turn to page 96 in your student books. Draw a rectangle around the title, The Outsiders. Star the paragraph that serves as an introduction to this chapter of the novel. Now let's read the vocabulary words aloud. What's the first bold vocabulary word? Go ahead and say it. Faltered means faded off or stumbled, lost confidence. His smile faltered when he saw his test grade. Now you tell me a sentence using the word faltered. What's the next vocabulary word? Abruptly means in a sudden or unexpected way. The bus stopped abruptly. Now I want you to tell me a sentence using the word abruptly. Tell me the next word. Resemblance means a similarity or likeness between two things. There is a strong resemblance between my sister and me. Now I want you to use the word resemblance in a sentence. Let's continue. Tell me the next word. Deserve means to earn something by your words or actions. If you don't study, you deserve the grade you get. Now I want you to tell me a sentence using the word deserve. What's the next word? Ornery means grouchy and bad-tempered. Sometimes I feel ornery when I haven't eaten. Now you tell me a sentence using the word ornery. Let's continue. Tell me the next word. Casual means relaxed or laid back. I thought that the dance was going to be more casual. Now you tell me a sentence using the word casual. What's the next word? Possession means something owned. The police dogs are looking for illegal possession of drugs. Now you tell me a sentence using the word possession. Let's continue. What's our next word? Hesitation means a delay or a pause. After some hesitation, my teacher allowed gum chewing. Now you use the word hesitation in a sentence. What is our next word? Stricter means firmer or having more rules expected to be obeyed than others. School rules are usually stricter than rules at home. Now you use the word stricter in a sentence. What is our last word? Deny means to say something isn't true. The suspect will deny that he was involved. Now you use a sentence with the word deny in a sentence. Are there any vocabulary words that are still confusing for you to read or understand? Today you will read the excerpt from The Outsiders, a small section at a time. After each section, you will monitor your understanding by circling the check mark if you understand the text, or the question mark if you don't understand the text. I also want you to draw a question mark over any confusing words, phrases, or sentences. I want you to go ahead and read the text on page 90. That's lines 1 through 20. Choose a character, Ponyboy, Johnny, or Dally. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both the physical descriptions and their personality traits. Look up when you have finished reading and marking that part of the text so that I will know that you're ready to move on. Let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Circle the names of the people who are most important to Ponyboy. Go to line 5. Mark the synonym for violent. On the same line, mark the gang whose symbol is greased-backed hair. Go to line 8. Mark the phrase that means extremely ill, at risk of death. In the second paragraph, circle the pronouns used that indicate that the story is written in first person. Go to lines 15 and 16. Mark the description of the setting. Go to line 18. Mark the contraction used to make you think that the story takes place in the South. Now I want you to read lines 21 through 57 silently on page 91. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and their personality traits. Look up when you have finished reading and marking the text. Let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to line 22. Mark the information that explains why the group is called Greasers. Go to line 24. Mark the word that means fight. Go to line 27. Mark the word that means group of people. Go to line 31. Mark Dally's real name. Go to line 33. Mark the word that sounds like a synonym for strong and means cool. Go to lines 34 and 35. Mark the statements that indicate Johnny was proud and good. Go to line 42. Mark the information that proves that Ponyboy is educated, but that his friend is not. Go to line 44. Mark the words that prove that 2-Bit is fun-loving and happy. Go to line 46. Mark the sentence that proves that Ponyboy has been fighting with his brother, Derry. Go to line 48. Mark the words that indicate where Johnny and Ponyboy had been before Johnny was put in the hospital. Go to line 50. Mark the word that means anxiously aware of danger. Go to line 53. Mark the nickname that Johnny uses for Ponyboy. Go to line 54. Edit the non-standard sentence, "You gotta be." Now I want you to read lines 58 through 75 on page 92 silently. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and their personality traits. Look up when you have finished reading and marking the text so that I know you're ready to move on. Now let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or the question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to line 61. Mark the words that prove that Ponyboy is sensitive. Go to line 63. Mark the phrase that means took a fearful, shaking breath. On the same line, mark the irony of Johnny's condition. Go to line 64. Circle Johnny's age. In the same paragraph, mark the slang contraction used multiple times. Replace each one with the correct contraction. In the next paragraph, do the same. Go to line 70. Mark the phrase that explains how they live. Go to line 74. Mark the words that explain why the greasers were described as cold and heartless. Circle the synonym for feelings. Now I want you to silently read lines 76 through 113 on page 93. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and their personality traits. When you have finished reading and marking the text, please look up so that I know that you're ready to move on. Now let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or the question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to lines 78 and 79. Mark the evidence that Johnny isn't sure how to react to his mother's visit. Go to line 85. Mark the figurative language that means pale. Go to line 90. Mark the phrase that means wakes up. In the same paragraph, mark the evidence that proves that Two-Bit and Ponyboy feel the same way about Johnny. Go to line 100. Mark the word that means people who engage in violence. In the next paragraph, mark the evidence that suggests Ponyboy's respect for women. Go to line 108. Mark evidence of Johnny's feelings toward his mother. Go to line 109. Circle the antonym for occupied. Go to lines 110 and 111. Mark evidence of Ponyboy's feelings toward his mother. Now I want you to silently read lines 114 through 137 on page 94. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and their personality traits. When you have finished reading, I want you to look up. Also, make sure that you've finished marking the text as directed as well. Now let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or the question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to line 115. Mark the pronoun it. Draw an arrow to what it is referencing. Go to line 117. Mark the punctuation used to show a hesitation. This is probably because Dally really wanted to call them something else, but had to find nicer words. Go to line 119. Mark the words that describe Dally's personality. Go to line 129. Edit the non-standard word oughta using standard English. Highlight the proof that Dally and Pony were involved in an act of bravery. Go to line 133. Mark the proof that Dally saved Ponyboy's life. Go to line 136. Mark the sarcastic comment. Now I want you to silently read lines 138 through 160 on page 95. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and their personality traits. When you finish reading and marking the text, I want you to look up so that I know you're ready to move on. Let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to line 140. Mark the word that means trying to decide. Go to the paragraph after the dialogue. Mark the evidence that suggests that Two-Bit stole the switchblade. Circle the synonym for distract. Go to lines 150 and 151. Mark the evidence that suggests that Two-Bit isn't much of a fighter. Go to line 152. Mark the compound word that means piece that he wants to show. On the same line, mark the word used to mean a kid similar to them. Mark the evidence that suggests that Dally is trustworthy. Go to line 156. Circle the pronoun that Dally uses when he speaks about the rumble. Write what you think that means in the margin. Go to the last paragraph. Mark the evidence that indicates that Dally is a little bit crazy. Still on page 96, I want you to silently read lines 161 to 178. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and their personality traits. When you have finished reading and marking the text, please look up so that I know that you're ready to move on. Now let's see how well you understood what you read. Circle the check mark or the question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to line 165. Mark the adverb that means with anxiety or worry. Circle the suffix. On the next line, mark the two consecutive modifiers. Draw an arrow from each modifier to connect to what it is describing. Hot is an adjective describing you, and awful is an adverb describing how hot. Go to line 170. Mark the adverb that means with hesitation. Circle the suffix. Mark the evidence that proves that Derry is protective of Ponyboy. Go to line 176. Circle the two people who are being compared. On the last line, mark what keeps Derry from being a Soc. Based on who said this, write who us represents in the margin. Now I want you to read from line 179 to the end of the passage on page 96, silently. As you read, mark the descriptions of your chosen character, both their physical descriptions and the personality traits. When you have finished reading and marking the text, please look up so that I know that you're ready to move on. Circle the check mark or the question mark for this section. Draw a question mark over any confusing words. Go to line 179. Mark the phrase used to indicate being poor had no effect. Go to line 181. Mark the proof that the typical greaser has little education. Go to line 182. Mark the consecutive modifiers. Draw an arrow from each modifier to connect it to what it is describing. In this case, sorry is an adjective describing I, and kind of is an adverbial phrase answering how sorry. In the second paragraph, number the reasons that Ponyboy is sick to his stomach. In the same paragraph, mark the evidence that proves that Ponyboy is not a coward. Mark the evidence that proves that Ponyboy has been in a gang since he was very young. Go to line 191. Mark the figurative language that means to fall for a trick and allow someone to get you to do something. In the last paragraph, mark the evidence that 2-Bit is an optimist and definitely not a realist. Circle the adverb that means tried really hard. Circle the suffix.